All right. Let's do this. Oh my gosh, I have not recorded a video in perhaps years. But we're back talking about the artist way. When I thought about this, I honestly wanted to start first from like reintroducing the channel and areas of focus and all that jazz. But I realized that getting that content out would then delay me even trying to pick up my artist way stuff and take you on the journey that is the artist way. So I decided like, no, like all the reintroduction stuff will have to wait. But if we have not met, I'm Simone Keela. I'm a writer and a creative coach, and I want to talk about the artist way. I just finished week 2, and I also just want to probably bring a little bit of a different vibe than I perhaps brought in other videos, because I'm just in a different phase of life, and I want to also not feel like I'm having to put on for anything. Like, I am a very multifaceted person, so I'm trying to honor that more, and I think that's also part of like my artistic journey of like, I'm hella silly sometimes, like ridiculously silly, and then also very deep and serious. And so whatever you get in any given day is what you get. But yeah, I'm gonna talk about the artist way, and I will start also by saying, not start because this is probably like 3 minutes long at this point. I will say that I have tried to do this workbook before, and I have not in the past made it past week 3. I literally looked back as I was like restarting, and I was like, it's like what's it called? Like you sign a pledge basically to yourself, a contract, that's the word, a contract. And my original date is 1/29/2019. And I think I actually got the book before 2019, but maybe not. Probably, I mean, whatever. That's when I was starting to actually try to work through it all. And so I like scratched that out. I'm like 3/17/2025. It's like my restarting date. Because I never made it past, again, like week 3 when I first started it. Although I didn't make it past week 3 in reading or any of the exercises or anything like that, I did keep up a practice of morning pages for a while before. And honestly, if I look back at 2019, that was a really pivotal year in my life. At the end of 2019, that's when I decided to leave my corporate marketing job and like figure my life out. And I honestly attribute that to 2 different things, and morning pages being one of them, and a psychic being the other. Anyway, so I definitely see and have always like seen like the merit of this. You know, I've done and have tried to do every now and again artist dates, but this desire to recommit this year in a real way, and not just recommit to like a morning page here and there, a artist date here or there, to recommit to the whole 12 weeks and moving through them. That was just born out of this realization that 1, I believe that this stuff actually works, and 2, I have not been my best creative self. And sometimes I feel like when we're not our best creative selves, you don't know what to hold responsible. Sometimes, like, you know that there's a part of you that might be to blame, and then there's all of the life stuff, you know, like 2025 is 2025, right? And so what can I do, right, to try to get out of my own way? All of my content before was about locks. We see how amazing my lines are now. But what I've been doing, what has been the focus, has been writing and storytelling over the past few years. And right now I think of myself in 2 different lanes, as a writer and as a creative coach. And that writing lane is pretty wide. I do speech writing for a Fortune 50 company, and usually it's part-time contract work. It's how I pay bills in LA. However, I was just covering a maternity leave, so that required more time, more headspace. And I think even just like, because in my mind I was like, oh, I'm getting paid a full-time salary, it also just had me kind of pulling back, or like not going as hard. The foot wasn't on the gas in the same way toward all my other creative ventures and projects and whatnot. And I think that I know that getting paid for your work, getting paid, not even for your work, getting paid, having a job is actually really important at different points in time. Elizabeth Gilbert talked a lot about this in Big Magic. Like sometimes it actually works against our art to not have a job, because when you think about what money provides, it very much is the basic needs that we need met. And so sometimes when we don't have that work, it's actually, we don't allow ourselves to pour into our art in that way because we're worried about the fundamental stuff like rent or food on the table. So I believe like having work is really important, but because I've been on this journey for a few years now, I think I've reached the point where misaligned, even good work is no longer serving me. And so my goal for 2025 is by end of the year, honestly, by fall, to be transitioned fully out of my contract work as a speechwriter and be just writing creative nonfiction scripts in a writer's room and creative coaching. Like those things, these creative opportunities, things that I actually love doing, are making up 100% of my day. And so with that though, I've been feeling like I haven't been having the energy physically, emotionally, mentally to give these things what they need all the time. And like I'll start and stop. And that's part of like, I think, my process and part of who I am. If you ever done human design, I am a manifester. So some of that is just like natural, like ebbs and flows of my creative process. But specifically when it comes to like the writing piece of it, I have been feeling like I've been held back in ways in which I'm like, I can't wrap my head around this, and I don't want to feel shame about it, but there is that frustration that comes up sometimes where like why can't I just like move past this block or whatever. I had a Substack that I was running for 52 weeks a year, yes. And I didn't grow it as quickly as I wanted to, so I retired that in October 2024. And then it's like, when I say retired, I was like, I'm just not gonna, focus my energy here, because our energy is a finite resource. So I'll publish when I want to publish. So like I didn't have that weekly like thing I was doing when it comes to creative nonfiction. I was in a class for screenwriting and I finished a script in January of this year, and I'm really excited about it. And yet, for some reason, I've been dragging my feet on editing it. And I know that once I get it in a well-edited place, that script is going to be a contender for all of these competitions and fellowships this current fellowship season. But for some reason, I'm dragging my feet on those edits. So it just has been this feeling of like, you know what you need to be doing sometimes, but you're not doing it. I think I put out my last season of my podcast. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. I think it was last year, early last year. And I haven't had the push desire to like go back and figure that out, largely because all these things I've not been compensated by in a real way. And so again, the work that has sustained me the most was the speech writing work, and recently the creative coaching. So background, I have honestly almost a decade of public relations and marketing experience at these like Fortune 100 companies, alongside then the writing work that I've done, the podcast, all this stuff, like working with like with small businesses, working with like entrepreneurs themselves. Like I have all of these experiences and a level of expertise when it comes to like supporting people and brands. And so channeling that into specifically working with creatives and helping them develop, the right strategies and mindset to help further their creative careers. But the thing is, as a writer myself, as an artist myself, like I have to do both of these things concurrently. I would love to be the person where it's like, I'm only gonna focus on this one thing and then that's gonna be it. I'm just not built that way. And if I ignore my own desires to breathe life into my creative work, I don't feel like I'm going to be able to show up the best for my clients, because then I'll just be doing that creative coaching as almost a shadow job, which I'm pointing to this because Julia Cameron talks about that, where it's like this work that you take on because you're not doing the work that you love. I don't want to take creative coaching on like that. I want to take creative coaching on because part of who I am is also this person that's deeply spiritual, and this person that has benefited from the support of a coach, and that knows that creatives sometimes require that extra encouragement, that extra hand-holding, that guide, that person that's like, yo, you're so dope, you can do this. Like I know that from my own experience. And even like the subsect that I had was the intersection of spirituality or mindfulness and creativity. So I live in this space. So like supporting other people is also a part of like just my life's mission, right? But again, if I'm not being an artist, it's not, they need to feed each other, right? I'm as good of a coach because I also know what it is to live the life of an artist. Enter this book. Enter me moving through this book for the first time in a real way. And I was unsure whether I wanted to do it. And then I held this workshop on February 22nd, 2022, about manifesting your creative breakthrough. And part of what I ended up using in my lecture was example of Doechii. And the internet has been talking about her in the artist way. And I was just like, I love finding inspiration in all different, art forms and mediums and whatnot. But what I love about her is that she really feels like she's met her moment, like she's fully prepared for her moment. And she also feels like if you listen to enough of her stuff, it's like, oh, you really know who you are, and like you're so in tune with who you are that like you're not going to be swayed away from like what is true to you. And I really feel like that's important for artists, where it's like having the self-assuredness that, you over here industry might be trying to pull me in one way, you over here, friend or well-meaning person might be trying to pull or sway me over there, but like I have this internal guide that I am connected to. And me as a person who is spiritual and already believes in the source, creator, God, whatever, in the universe, and working on my behalf, like this is the exact type of book that resonates with me. I'm not like, if you're an atheist, non-believer, whatever, like it might be too many God references for you. But if you believe in any sort of source energy thing that's, flowing through everything, then I would give it a go. So sorry, this is probably like 2 videos in one. It's like the whys of it. I don't even remember enough of week 1 to like recount that, but I'm starting at week 2. So that's like the whys of why I felt like this journey was really important to me and where I find myself, which also kind of serves as like my reintroduction on my page. So hey now. And then week 2. So week 2 was recovering a sense of identity. There's a quote that says, every time you don't follow your inner guidance, you feel a loss of energy, loss of power, a sense of spiritual deadness. And another thing that I underlined here is like, do not let your self-doubt turn into self-sabotage. So not just the past week, I think the past 2 weeks for me has been this acknowledgement where I have not been a person that has been ignoring my creative impulses. That's kind of where a lot of people, that's where they're coming into the artist way. If they've been like, kind of stifling things, not been pursuing, haven't taken the paintbrush out of the desk drawer in 15 years, whatever the case is. For me, it's like I have been trying to honor my creative impulses for a while, but sometimes what I battle with is resentment that things don't move faster for me, and then shame when I'm not pouring into it in the way in which I feel like I must, and like this overall sense of like feeling like sometimes I'm playing small, or then even like playing toward an audience. Like I think sometimes like my marketing background works against me because I'm like, well, this is the way I'm supposed to show up. And so I'm trying to like be conscious of all of these things so I don't let those be things that are just like continuing to hold me back in ways. So like I'm coming into it with this, like I have been, doing creative stuff for a while, but I think that the dial needs to be turned up. I I think it's just like almost a desire for like an awakening creatively. A creative awakening is what I'm like hopeful for, which might be a big ask, but that's what I'm doing this for. So yeah, there was, for me personally, because again, like I've done this before, I had no problem like diving back into like morning pages. Like I haven't missed a day. And what I'm doing more than I did before is the actual like exercises. I don't think I was like doing the exercises before because I thought they were like kind of corny, but I was like, let me just like do as many of these as I can. So like even like, 20 things I enjoy doing, like I wrote that list and it was actually kind of hard for me to find 20 things. I'm just in a weird, I guess, stage in life, question mark. But like I look back, I'm like, oh, I actually ended up doing a couple of these like last week, probably because, not a conscious thing, but probably because like they ended up being top of mind or just below the surface, right? So like I put hot yoga on it. I did hot yoga. I played with my dog. I said finding a new coffee shop. I had a friend in town. Oh, sidebar. I had a friend in town, and I was a little bit nervous before she got here because she was getting here on Thursday evening, and I was like, dang, like I really don't want to have this be something that throws me off course. Like I don't want it to miss any days. Like like when you're out in these streets and gallivanting and stuff with company, it's like, you're less disciplined. It definitely, I think worked against like my writing goals. Like I wanted to actually like go to a coffee shop and write at some point this week, and I didn't do that, but I still woke up every morning. I still did my morning pages on Friday. Remember, she got here on Thursday. Friday morning, I was like, I haven't done my artist date this week. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go leave her at my place because she had a morning call anyway for work. And I took my dog and I went down to the Venice Pier and I caught the sunrise in the morning. Granted, it's like West Side, so like not as beautiful as if I was like in like Florida or something watching the sunrise, but like still like really nice. And like was just taking in everything. They have these wonderful quotes that are on that pier, and just like being, because something that they talked about in week one was just like being attentive, and I was just being super aware and attentive of everything. Like I was just tuning in to like sounds and what people were saying and sights, and like literally just using my five senses to like take in the world. And I felt like I was experiencing that pier in a different way. It's like deep for no reason. Anyway, but like playing with my dog, deep conversations, and I was able to have that because I had a friend who like I can go deep with. Walks, that was a walk. We ended up trying or finding a new restaurant for us because it's been on my list to go to Echo Park, which is a neighborhood in LA. And so I went there. I was looking on TikTok for a bunch of recommendations beforehand, and so we ended up trying a new restaurant while we were there and a new coffee shop. So like, interestingly enough, like I did things on this list. So that's like one of the things. I don't want to like go back and read any of my pages. Oh, I've been trying to just I think week 2 was around writing some of those affirmations, and I chose kind of a couple different ones, but one of the ones I put was, as I create and listen, I will be led. And they said to like write down like all of the kind of the noise that comes up. There was a word that they used, but I'll just say noise for now. And I ended up doing that. And then as soon as I wrote it down, it was like I heard a response to that, where I basically was like, shut the fuck up. In so many words. And just like talking about how like some of the delays are part of the process. Like I was like, because my negative self-talk was like, you're at a standstill, you're not going anywhere, you've been creating, but have you really been led, ? And I was like, well, even if that's the case, couldn't that still be part of how I've been guided? Can I consider that God would want me to have acquired the mental and emotional fortitude to when the winds start coming, they rain down, and I have the capacity to hold them. That capacity couldn't have been built overnight. So much of the journey is the process of building the capacity, the container. This I believe. No, this I know. So there's just been some like really beautiful epiphanies in that sense. And I think that's kind of like where I am with things of just like, there's some epiphanies. And I think ultimately like just wanting as much as possible to know myself as an artist. And what I am up against with some of that is just like this destructive sometimes emotional intelligence, self-awareness. I think that it works against me because I'm like, well, like I could be doing this and I haven't achieved all of that. And I'm so like, it's the self-awareness and like the ambition and the comparison. And again, so when I go back to this desire for a creative awakening, it's that I am so in tune and I'm like, this is exactly how I'm meant to be moving. This is exactly how I'm meant to be creating. I'm not overthinking this process. It is beautiful. It's flowing out of me and I'm not playing small. It's just literally me, you know, in play, co-conspiring with the creator. That pours out in whatever medium. And you know, I guess YouTube is about to be one of them again. So that's, I think, really what I want to say. A few other things that I like highlighted. You will discover the joy of practicing your creativity. The process, not the product, will become your focus. That's really important because, like, I think the more we look to see the results, the outcome, the praise, the validation, the less fun we have in the process, and the slower it is actually at the end of the day to actually get all the stuff that you're moving towards, that you're striving for. Like if I can just really be in the creation, if I could really be in the play, that's something that they talked a lot about crazy makers, like the people that come into your life, almost like creating drama, who end up like kind of holding you back in different ways. Crazy makers are those personalities that create storm centers. They're often charismatic, frequently charming, highly inventive, and powerfully persuasive. And for the creative person in their vicinity, they are enormously destructive. You know the type: charismatic but out of control, long on problems and short on solutions. I honestly feel like I don't really have, I feel like I'm nervous to say that, but that doesn't feel like one of my obstacles right now, thank the Lord. And I think that's also because I'm kind of like in this like weird, like, I feel like I'm a little bit isolated right now. I think that might be also being a 30-something-year-old. I don't want to say, I mean, LA, it's going on 4 years here almost, 3.5 years now. Yeah, I don't feel like I don't feel like that's something that I have to deal with right now, thankfully. But another thing was skepticism, and that's definitely something that I battle with. But I think skepticism is really just, you know, they talked a lot about open-mindedness. Oh, okay, attention was in week 2. Perfect. But skepticism, staying open-minded, and I think staying open-minded to how the creator, works through us with our creativity. Attention, I love this. Oh God, yeah, this is exactly why I was able to pay attention and kind of key into the moments that were happening on the artist date. The quality of life is in proportion always to the capacity for delight. The capacity for delight is the gift of paying attention. The reward for attention is always healing. So really great stuff. This is today actually is me starting week 3. I actually kind of like doing this as, if anything, I'm just like kind of like keeping track of what's coming up along the way. So if I do it every week, I think like, this won't be as long as this one. And I really, again, we'll see what happens. Right now I'm actually scheduled to go on a trip to Japan while I'm still in the midst of the artist way. And if that actually happens, then that'll be really interesting to be in this like spiritual epicenter while I'm, probably, toward the tail endish of the journey through this workbook. I'll keep you posted there, and more to come on this journey, and really more to come about creativity, life as a artist, as a writer primarily, as a creative coach. The desire is that some of the stuff that I share with clients, I'll be able to share on this page as well. So if that's of interest, follow along. But yeah, some of these like more like heartfelt, like there wasn't really a script. There wasn't a script for this. So more of these kind of like unscripted moments. But perhaps there are opportunities to also share my actual scripts with you guys in some way. I'll have to figure out that mechanism. Anyway, thanks. More to come.